Rich woman dumped a single dad. Years later, she begged him for a job at his company. She laughed when she saw his work boots at the door. Claire Ashford actually laughed, covered her mouth, turned to her friend Megan and said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm dating a man who smells like drywall." That was the last thing Marcus Cole heard before the front door closed. He stood in the hallway of his own apartment, holding a bouquet of sunflowers he'd bought from the gas station on the way home. $7.99, because the florist on Elm was closed by the time his shift ended at 6. Lily's drawing was still taped to the fridge behind him, a stick figure with a hard hat labeled Daddy next to a smaller one labeled M.E. with a crown. Claire had never once looked at it. What Claire Ashford didn't know, what she couldn't have known, because she'd never once asked about his past, only his present, was that the man in the work boots had once sat in a corner office on the 44th floor of a building he designed himself, that the drywall smell came from a construction company he was quietly rebuilding from nothing after walking away from a $90 million architecture firm to raise his daughter alone. What Megan Hollister didn't know was that within 3 years, Marcus Cole's name would be on the side of the tallest residential tower in the city, and that Claire would be standing in his lobby holding a resume, asking his receptionist if he was hiring. But that night, Marcus just set the sunflowers on the counter, walked to Lily's room, watched her sleep for a long time. Then he threw the flowers away. 4 hours earlier, Marcus Cole had woken up at 4:45 a.m. to the sound of his phone alarm, the one he kept on vibrate so it wouldn't wake Lily. He lay still for 10 seconds, ceiling cracks mapped like rivers. Then he moved. Kitchen first. Coffee, store brand, the canister almost empty. He'd buy more Friday. Lily's lunch, turkey sandwich, apple slices, a note folded into a star the way she liked. He wrote the same thing every morning in slightly different words. "Today's you're braver than you think, Lil. Love, Dad." He tucked it between the sandwich and the juice box and zipped the bag. Lily's shoes sat by the front door. The left sole was separating at the toe. He'd glued it twice. She never complained, but he'd seen her tuck her foot under her desk at school, hiding it. New shoes were $45. Rent was due Saturday. The shoes would wait another week. He showered in 4 minutes, dressed in the dark, jeans, thermal, steel-toed boots. His hands were calloused in ways they hadn't been 5 years ago, when the hardest thing he gripped was a drafting pen. He caught his reflection in the bathroom mirror. 36. Looked 42. Felt 60. Before Claire, there'd been nothing but work and Lily for 2 years. After Sarah died, loss. That was the only word that fit. Not past. Not lost her battle. Sarah died in a hospital room on a Tuesday afternoon while Marcus held her hand, and Lily slept in a chair too big for her body. He sold the firm 6 months later. Couldn't sit in the office where they'd built their first model together. Back when the company was just 2 desks and a dream, and Sarah laughing at his terrible drafting table posture. He took a job with a construction crew because the work was physical, and the silence in his head was too loud to sit at a desk. Framing walls, pouring foundations, working with his hands, until the grief settled into something he could carry instead of something that carried him. The foreman, Ray Delgado, didn't know Marcus had designed the Whitfield Center downtown. Didn't know his net worth, even diminished, was more than the entire crew's combined salaries for a decade. Marcus never told him. Didn't want to be that guy. Wanted to earn calluses. Wanted to build things again, from the ground up. He'd met Claire at a parent-teacher conference. She was there for her nephew, polished, confident, the kind of woman who made rooms rearrange themselves when she walked in. She worked in luxury real estate, sold penthouses to people who already owned 3 homes. She'd looked at Marcus and seen something she liked. For a while. 6 months in, she started noticing things. His truck, not a car. His apartment, not a condo. Dinners at the diner on 5th, not the bistro on Grand. She brought Megan Hollister around more often. Megan, who sold high-end cosmetics and measured people in tax brackets. Megan, who once asked Marcus what neighborhood he came from, and then raised her eyebrows at the answer. Claire had been pulling away for weeks. Marcus knew. He felt it the way you feel weather changing, pressure dropping, air thinning. She stopped asking about Lily's school, stopped coming to the apartment on weekday nights, texted less, smiled less. The sunflowers were supposed to be a gesture, a bridge. What Marcus didn't know was that Claire had already told Megan she was done slumming it. That Megan had laughed and said, "Honestly, Claire, I don't know how you lasted this long." That the two of them had been apartment hunting that afternoon for Claire's upgrade life, a phrase Megan used without irony. What none of them knew was that Marcus had received a phone call that morning from his old business partner, James Whitfield. That phone call would change everything. But not yet. Marcus dropped Lily at school. She hugged him at the gate. "Love you, Daddy. Love you more, Lil." Same exchange every morning. Never got old. He watched her walk in, backpack bouncing, left shoe flapping slightly at the toe. Then he drove to the site. That evening, after Claire left, Marcus sat on the kitchen floor with his back against the cabinet. Lily's drawings covered the fridge above him. Stick figure worlds where Daddy always wore a cape and the son always had a face. He pulled out his phone. Scrolled to James Whitfield's number, the missed call from that morning, still unreturned. James had left a voicemail mark. "It's James. Listen, I know you said you were done with all of it. I respect that. But the Bellhaven project just fell through with Ashford Klein. The whole thing. They botched the structural review, and the city pulled the contract. That's a $120 million project sitting on the table with no architect. The city council wants you. By name. Call me back." Marcus had ignored it that morning, had other things on his mind, sunflowers, trying to save something that was already gone. Now, sitting on the floor at 11 p.m., with the smell of Claire's perfume still in the hallway, he played the voicemail again. Then he called James back. "It's me, Mark. Thank God. Listen, I'll do it." Silence on the line. Then, "You sure? Last time we talked, you said you never wanted to. I said I'll do it. But on my terms. I stay on the crew during the day. I design at night. Nobody knows. Not yet. When the building's done, my name goes on it. Until then, I'm just Marcus. That's insane. Probably, I love it. I'll set up the meeting." Marcus hung up, looked at the fridge, at Lily's drawing, the stick figure with the hard hat. He peeled it off carefully, held it under the light. Then, he taped it to his drafting table in the spare room, the one Claire had called the junk room, and opened his laptop for the first time in 2 years. The Bellhaven project consumed him in the best possible way. Days on the site with Ray's crew, framing, wiring, hauling materials. Nights at the drafting table, designing a building that made his chest ache with how right it felt. Lily slept 20 feet away while he drew towers. He kept the two lives separate. The crew didn't know. Ray didn't know. Nobody knew except James, who showed up once a month with revised specs and a look on his face like he was watching someone come back from the dead. "You're not the same architect," James said one night, flipping through Marcus's sketches. "These are better. More human. Grief will do that. So will building things with your hands." Marcus said nothing. But he knew James was right. The old designs had been elegant, ambitious, cold. These had warmth. Courtyards that invited people to sit, Windows angled to catch morning light in children's bedrooms. A rooftop garden, because Lily had once told him that buildings should have hair. 7 months in, the design was finalized. The city council approved it unanimously. Marcus Cole, lead architect. His name on the permit, on the plans, on every document. It was public record, but nobody connected the Marcus Cole in a hard hat on Ray's crew with the Marcus Cole, whose signature was on a $120 million skyscraper. Nobody except Lily, who watched him draw every night and said, "Daddy, is that our building?" "It's everybody's building, Lil. But you made it." "Yeah, I made it." She climbed into his lap. "Can my room be on the top floor?" "We'll see." A year passed. The steel frame rose over downtown like a skeleton reaching for something. Marcus watched it from the crew. His crew now. Ray had promoted him to site lead. Still didn't know. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus, supervising the construction of a building he'd designed, and no one on the crew had any idea. He was at the site one Tuesday afternoon when a black SUV pulled up. A woman stepped out in heels that cost more than his monthly grocery bill. She was with a man in a suit that probably had a name Marcus was supposed to recognize, Claire Ashford, and her new boyfriend, Tyler Voss. Voss Development. Marcus recognized the name, mid-tier developer, all flash, no structural integrity. The kind of company that cut corners on foundations and overspent on lobby marble. Claire was giving Tyler a tour of Marcus's building. She worked in real estate now, high-end sales, just like before. And Tyler's firm was bidding to manage the residential units once the tower was complete. Marcus pulled his hard hat lower, turned back to the scaffolding, kept working. Claire walked within 15 feet of him, didn't recognize him. Or didn't look. She was pointing at the eastern fade, telling Tyler about sight lines and premium pricing per square foot. Her voice carried the same confidence it always had, the same certainty that she was the most important person in any room. "This building is going to be the crown jewel of downtown," Claire said. "Whoever designed it is a genius." The light engineering alone, Marcus tightened a bolt, said nothing. Megan Hollister appeared from the SUV. Of course she did, trailing behind Claire like a satellite in designer sunglasses. She looked at the construction crew the way someone looks at furniture, present but irrelevant. Her heels clicked on the concrete Marcus had poured 3 weeks ago. "Honestly, Claire," Megan said, adjusting her sunglasses, "I don't know how these people do this work. In this heat, I die." "That's why they do it and we don't, Meg." They laughed. Claire gestured toward the eastern wall, the one Marcus had redesigned 4 times to get the light exactly right for the children's wing. "Tyler says the units on floors 30 through 40 will list at $2.2 million minimum. Can you imagine? This building is going to print money." Megan nodded. "And the architect? Who is he?" Tyler mentioned some recluse who disappeared for years. Claire shrugged. "No idea." "Some genius. Apparently Tyler's trying to get a meeting. You know how these creative types are, probably lives in a loft and thinks he's above it all." Marcus's wrench slipped. He caught it, steadied his hand, kept working. The sound hit him somewhere behind his ribs, not because it hurt. He was past that, but because Lily's shoes still had that gap at the toe, and these 2 women were laughing about heat and money while standing in the shadow of something he'd made with the same hands they'd dismissed. Ray walked over. "Cole, the foreman from the concrete crew needs you at the North Foundation. Something about the rebar spacing. On it." He walked past Claire without a word. She didn't look up, but James Whitfield did. He'd been watching from across the street, parked in his car, reviewing the specs Marcus had sent that morning. He saw Claire, saw Megan, saw Marcus walk past them like a ghost in his own cathedral. James pulled out his phone. The building was completed 14 months later. The grand opening was covered by every architecture publication in the country. The Tribune ran a full-page feature. The Belhaven Tower, Marcus Cole's masterpiece and triumphant return. His photo, not in a hard hat, but in a charcoal suit, standing in the lobby he'd designed, was projected on a screen at the unveiling ceremony. 600 people attended. The mayor, the city council, developers, architects, investors. And because the residential units were being marketed by 3 competing firms, every luxury real estate agent in the city was there too, including Claire Ashford. She arrived with Megan Hollister. Tyler Voss was already inside, working the room. Claire wore emerald green. Megan wore something that probably required a second mortgage. They moved through the crowd with practiced ease, shaking hands, exchanging business cards, positioning themselves near anyone who looked like a decision-maker. The event coordinator took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the unveiling of the Belhaven Tower. Before we begin the tours, I'd like to introduce the architect behind this extraordinary building. A man who stepped away from the industry 3 years ago and returned to create what many are calling the most important residential project this city has seen in a generation. A murmur moved through the crowd. Please welcome the lead architect and creative director of the Belhaven Tower, Marcus Cole. The screen behind the podium lit up. Marcus's face appeared, not the construction worker, not the man in the worn jacket. The architect, clean-shaven, jaw set, the same eyes, but framed differently now. Below the photo, Marcus Cole. Founder, Cole and Whitfield Architecture. Former principal architect, Cole Mercer Design Group. Lead designer, the Whitfield Center, the Pemberton Bridge, the Lakeshore Arts Pavilion. The room applauded. Claire's champagne glass stopped moving. Megan's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Claire stared at the screen, at the name, at the face she'd last seen in a hallway holding gas station sunflowers while she laughed about work boots with her best friend. The same face. The same man. The man she'd told Megan she was done slumming it with. Marcus walked to the podium. He didn't look at the crowd. He looked at the building through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind them, the steel and glass and light he'd drawn on a kitchen table while his daughter slept. I designed this building for the people who build things, he said. Not just architects. The framers. The electricians, the crew who showed up at 5 a.m. in the heat and the cold because the work mattered. I worked alongside them for 2 years. They taught me more about structure than any degree ever did. He paused. My daughter once told me that buildings should have hair, so I put a garden on the roof. Laughter, warm, genuine. This tower isn't mine. It belongs to everyone who touched it. But I'm proud of it, and I think my daughter would say it turned out okay. Applause, longer this time. People stood. Claire didn't stand. She sat very still, her glass now on the table, her hands flat on the white tablecloth as if the surface might tilt if she let go. The woman beside her, a broker from Meridian Realty, was whispering to her husband. The couple across the table had both pulled out their phones. Someone 3 rows back said, loud enough to carry, "Isn't that the guy who designed the Whitfield Center?" I thought he retired. Megan leaned over. Her face had lost all its color. Claire, don't, Claire said. Tyler Voss approached their table. He'd been across the room, shaking hands, oblivious. Claire, do you know Marcus Cole? We should get a meeting. His firm is going to be the biggest thing in this city. If we land the management contract for this building, I know him, Claire said. Her voice was barely there. You know Marcus Cole? That's incredible. Can you introduce Tyler? She looked up. I used to date him. Tyler blinked, then looked at the stage, at the man being photographed by 6 different outlets, at the architect whose building Tyler's firm was desperate to manage. You dated him? And you didn't. I didn't know. How could you not know? Claire had no answer for that. Across the room, James Whitfield watched the scene unfold. He leaned toward Marcus as he stepped off the stage. Your ex is here. Table 9. She looks like she swallowed a wasp. Marcus glanced over. Saw Claire. Saw Megan. Felt nothing that resembled satisfaction, just a tired kind of clarity. She didn't do anything wrong, Marcus said. She just didn't see me. That's the same thing. Marcus didn't respond. He walked to the lobby windows, looked up at the building from inside. Somewhere on the 42nd floor, there was a children's playroom with windows angled to catch morning light. He'd designed it for Lily. By Friday, Tyler Voss's firm had lost the management bid. The committee cited inconsistent quality standards in Voss Development's previous projects, the same corner-cutting Marcus had noticed from the start. Claire's commission vanished with it. 3 months later, Voss Development filed for restructuring. Tyler moved to another city. Claire stayed, but the luxury market had shifted. The agents who'd once competed for her listings started going to the younger brokers, the ones who didn't laugh at construction workers. Megan Hollister stopped returning Claire's calls around the same time. It happened gradually, missed texts, canceled lunches, then silence. Megan had a new circle now. People who were going up, not sideways. She'd attached herself to a tech founder's wife and was already posting photos from a rooftop in Malibu. Claire's name never appeared in the comments. It was as if 6 years of friendship had been a lease that expired without renewal. Claire sat in her apartment one evening, the upgrade apartment she'd moved into after leaving Marcus, the one with the view of a parking garage that Megan had called full of potential, and realized she couldn't name a single person who would come if she called. She thought about Marcus's kitchen, about the drawings on the fridge, about Lily's shoes by the door, about the little girl whose name she'd never bothered to learn. She picked up her phone, put it down, picked it up again. She didn't call. 6 months after the unveiling, Claire Ashford walked into the lobby of the Belhaven Tower. Not as a guest, not as an agent. She was holding a resume. The receptionist looked up. Can I help you? I'd like to apply for a position in the property management office. Which position? Anything available? The receptionist glanced at the resume, looked up at Claire. I'll pass this along. Have a seat. Claire sat in the lobby of the building her ex-boyfriend had designed. The morning light came through the windows at exactly the angle Marcus had intended, warm, democratic, reaching every corner equally. She noticed the children's playroom on the directory, the rooftop garden, the courtyard designed for people to sit and stay. She'd been in hundreds of luxury buildings. This one felt different. This one felt like someone had actually thought about the people inside it. Marcus never saw the resume. His office manager handled staffing. But James told him about it, because James told him everything. Claire Ashford applied for a job here. Marcus was reviewing plans for the next project. He didn't look up. Okay, do you want me to handle it however you'd handle any application? If she's qualified, she's qualified. If she's not, she's not. My name doesn't go near it. James nodded. For what it's worth, I think she's realized some things. People usually do. Marcus turned a page. Doesn't mean you owe them anything. That evening, Marcus picked up Lily from school. He'd moved them into a townhouse near the park. Nothing flashy, just more space, a yard, a room where Lily could paint. The coffee at home was no longer rationed. The fridge had food that wasn't on clearance. Lily's lunch still had a note every morning. Today's said, "You're the bravest person I know, Lil." But now, it sat next to a turkey sandwich that wasn't the only option. New shoes by the front door. Purple, with stars, exactly what she'd wanted. She ran to the truck, climbed in, buckled herself. "Dad, can we get ice cream? It's Tuesday." "So?" He looked at her, 8 years old, brave and funny and completely unbothered by anything that wasn't right in front of her. She had Sarah's eyes. "Yeah, Lil, we can get ice cream." They drove through downtown, past the Bellhaven Tower, its glass catching the late afternoon sun. Lily pressed her face against the window. "That's our building, Dad. It's everybody's building." "But you made it. And it has hair." He laughed. Really laughed. The kind that starts in your chest and surprises you because you'd forgotten it lived there. They got strawberry. Sat on a bench outside the shop. Lily got ice cream on her shirt. Marcus wiped it off with a napkin that fell apart immediately. She giggled. He tried again with his sleeve. She giggled harder. His phone buzzed. James, he silenced it. Put the phone in his pocket. Tuesday evenings belonged to Lily. Everything else could wait. The sun dropped behind the tower. Their tower, the one with hair. Marcus finished his cone. Lily was still working on hers, methodical and serious, the way she approached everything. He watched her and felt something settle in his chest, not happiness exactly, but the thing that comes after you stop running. Stillness, enough. Lily looked up. Ice cream on her chin. "Dad?" "Yeah, I'm glad you build things." He put his arm around her, pulled her close. Didn't say anything. Some things don't need words. They just need someone who stays.